Ladies and gentlemen, this is Stu Bennett, FKA Wade Barrett, and I'm afraid I've got some bad news. You're listening to Sports Guys Talking Wrestling.
When they're not covering the sports world, they're talking about the world of professional wrestling.
It's Sports Guys Talking Wrestling.
Now, here's Stu Myrick.
Sports Guys Talking Wrestling on the Horn, 104.9, 101.9, AM 1260, hornfm.com. Stu Myrick here, flying solo tonight. Justin Simmons has the night off. Got a great guest coming up right now. He has a movie coming out this Friday called I Am Vengeance, Retaliation. It is the sequel to his 2018 movie, I Am Vengeance. As I said, it'll be available this Friday in the U.S. on digital platforms and DVD. He was a WWE Intercontinental Champion. He was the leader of that dastardly crew, the Nexus, as well as the Core. And now he's doing a fantastic job in the commentary booth alongside Joe Galli on NWA Powerrr. Joining me now on the Vaqueros Cafe and Cantina hotline, you knew him as Wade Barrett. He is Stu Bennett. Stu, how you doing?
I'm fantastic, Stu. Thank you very much for having me on the show.
Thank you for joining me. Let's talk for a second. This is the second of these films in which you play a former Special Forces soldier. You know, this is one of these badass kind of the 80s, blow everything up and let's fight everybody. Talk for a second about how proud you are of this sequel.
Yeah, I'm thrilled with the sequel. It's an unabashed ode to 80s action movies, which really, as a child of the 80s, were the first grown-up movies that I ever watched. The likes of Stallone and Schwarzenegger in the kind of films they were making back then. And that was my first experience of what an adult film is about. Watching them at a friend's house or something like that, when they stole them from their parents' video cabinet or whatever it was. But yeah, I'm a massive fan of that genre. And it's great for me, coming from the background I come from, to be able to produce and star in a film that is basically on that same track.
And this is, again, you become a really good action hero type actor. A lot of action movies. I look at the cast on this movie, and the entire cast looks like a bunch of people that I really don't want to mess with in a dark alley. Was that kind of the framing of this? Is get people that look like they could just beat the snot out of you at any given moment?
Well, coming from a wrestling background, I'm all too aware of how important appearance and look is in convincing an audience of your credibility, sometimes even more so than actual wrestling talent. But certainly in this film, we've got some really fantastic-looking rogues in the film. We have a team of bad guys, and I'm leader of the team of good guys, but the leader of the bad guys is Vinnie Jones, who himself has one of the greatest villain faces, I think, in the history of modern cinema. And he surrounded himself with some real tough cookies too. So it's important. It's a vitally important part of acting and film to portray and visually show the characters that you're portraying. And I think the casting department did a fantastic job of picking the ones for this film.
I agree. I mean, even the women that are on this cast, while they look fantastic, still look like they could beat me up at any time. You mentioned Vinnie Jones. I know how excited you are to work with Vinnie Jones. Just talk about your admiration of him and what he's done in the what you call football, what we call soccer, but in that universe, and now transitioning into acting.
Yeah, I've been a fan of Vinnie since I was a little kid. I remember watching him win the FA Cup in the UK, which is the soccer equivalent of the Super Bowl. I watched him when I was 7 years old, and he was playing for a team of a ragtag bunch of misfits, basically, who went on and took on Liverpool, and Liverpool were the best team in the world. Somehow Vinnie Jones and his band of merry men ended up winning the FA Cup that year, and so I've known of Vinnie pretty much my entire life, and I've always been a fan of him, and watching films like Lock, Stock and Snatch as I got older, and being huge fans of those two. He's had two brilliant careers, and almost in parallel to what I'm trying to do at the moment, certainly in the film world. He transitioned from one discipline, i.e. soccer, where he had a tremendous amount of success, into another and continued his level of success. So he really is a model of the kind of things that guys who are transitioning into other realms can kind of follow. And even before The Rock did the crazy stuff that he's been able to do, Vinnie Jones kind of set that model, in my mind anyway, of how to transition. So yeah, big fan, both his film and his football playing, and a huge thrill for me to get to work with him.
Let me ask you this, Stu, because, of course, familiar with your work in WWE and everything, and of course now you're in the commentating booth with Joe Galli in NWA, but when you started getting into the acting more, was there a challenge in transitioning from the wrestling world to acting that surprised you, I guess, is the best way to put it?
Yeah, absolutely. I was very lucky when I was with WWE that I got a couple of acting roles through WWE Studios. The first one being a film called Dead Man Down, which I have a very, very minor part in. And that was kind of 8 weeks of filming for me, but I barely did anything. So I was in the background of a lot of scenes. But it was a great, great opportunity to dip my toe in the water and experience what it was like working with the likes of Colin Farrell and Terrence Howard and all these top actors and top directors and things like that. The second film I did was one called Eliminators, which was a much smaller budget, but I ended up being a much bigger character in the film. I was the lead villain. So that was the first time I really got experience of what it's like to be an actor and have a bunch of lines and have a bunch of scenes that I've got to carry. And that the biggest shock to me coming into it, I had to do a lot of fight scenes in the film, was just how different fight scenes in film are compared to fight scenes in professional wrestling. Whereas fight scenes in professional wrestling, we are connecting with all our shots. We are picking each other up and throwing each other around. And you're very much improving and ad-libbing and working with each other with a vague idea of where you're going. Whereas the specifics of fight scenes in film are exact and precise. And you have to throw a punch at this exact angle, at this exact speed, at this exact height, this exact distance from this person's face. And if we don't get that, then we're going to stop and we're going to shoot that one punch again, and we'll do it 20 times until we get the right one. So it was a lot of getting used to, and I think the hardest part was not only memorizing exactly and precisely where to throw each punch and kick and where to put my feet and all that stuff, kind of like a dance, but also maintaining a level of adrenaline and aggression, despite the fact that you might be throwing this punch for the 20th time in a row. Whereas in pro wrestling, obviously that adrenaline and aggression is constantly there, in part because you're doing it once and in part because you've got 10,000 screaming fans around you too.
Yeah, that's true. That does make a little bit of a difference. We're talking with Stu Bennett. Follow him on Twitter at Stu Bennett. Let me ask you this, Stu. Is there a dream role that you have in mind for your acting career? Is there a genre of movie that you want to try next?
I'm very open-minded, and I think I have to be by virtue of the fact that I've got a rather unorthodox background when it comes to the acting world. Any offers that come in, we look at them. What's the role? Is this something I can portray, first of all? I think there's an element of me inevitably being typecast as a big, scary guy, either in a good guy role or a bad guy role. I've done 5 films now. I've had guns in every single one of them. I've had fight scenes in every single one of them. So there's an element of that I will be naturally limited to the kind of things that are going to come my way. If I could pick anything out there in the world of film, I would love to be involved in a Western, a modern day kind of Western, like, play the kind of Dirty Harry kind of roles, even as a villain, and, stuff like 310 to Yuma and all these great modern Westerns that have come out. I think if I could do something like that, it would need a lot of work on the accent, and I can't ride a horse either. But I'd be prepared to put in work, certainly, to be involved in that kind of production.
Okay. I could definitely see you in a Western, wearing the hat and the boots and everything. Something that I learned in doing some research with all the different weapons that you use in this movie, as well as the first one, you haven't prior to this, you didn't have a lot of experience with weapons. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's right. I'm an Englishman. Guns are not really allowed out there. I know in American culture they're very popular, of course. But in the UK, we do have a slightly different view on guns. Mm-hmm. So I didn't grow up with guns. I think the first gun I ever held was in the first film I did, Dead Man Down, and I've held guns in every single one since. So that takes some getting used to. Initially, there's guns, certainly when you've only ever seen them on crime TV shows or something like that. So you need some training about safety, of course, but also how to realistically hold them, and how to, in different scenarios, hand-to-hand combat, how close you would hold the gun to yourself, how would you walk with the gun. And then on top of that, there's an extra level when you're in a film like I Am Vengeance, because not only am I holding a gun, I'm now holding a gun as a Special Forces soldier who, again, would hold it differently to a guy in the street or a bank robber or whatever it would be. So there's definitely a lot of training that goes into it. Fortunately, we have some great armourers on the set of Iron Vengeance who are actual ex-Special Forces guys themselves. They are the best when it comes to training me exactly how to, in this scene, because you're hiding behind a barrel or a crate, you need to hold it with your shoulder a little lower, do this, don't pop your head out, all this kind of stuff. So it was great to have those people to bounce ideas from.
Yeah, having served alongside Special Forces at a time or two in my Army career, it was, you're right, good guys to learn from, and luckily they were good friends as well. I want to transition a bit, because it was recently was the 10th anniversary of your debut on Monday Night Raw with the Nexus. Was there something about the Nexus that, I guess, your biggest regret of it? Was there something that you felt like they missed the mark on?
It's very difficult for me to have regrets from that period, because I did get a lot of benefit from it. Undoubtedly, I think anyone who witnessed it realizes that it could and should perhaps have been much bigger than it was. But ultimately, I wasn't involved in the decision-making process. I certainly wasn't politically savvy enough at that point in my career, when I was a very fresh-faced youngster, kind of blown away with the opportunities he was getting. I wasn't politically knowledgeable or savvy enough to go in and fight my case like I would be able to now, for example. So certain decisions, when they were made back then, if the Stu Bennett from 2020 was transported back in time, would at least have had a better shot of pleading his case and understanding how the game worked a little better. But I can't be too negative. I got a lot out of it. I wish it had gone differently, of course, like a lot of fans do. But to have regrets about it is very difficult for me, because I don't believe it was my mistake or my choices that led to the decline of that.
It was definitely a very memorable night that night when y'all came out and attacked John Cena and pretty much tore up the entire ringside area, and that's so yeah, it's kind of hard to, I guess, like you said, kind of hard to have a regret on something so memorable like that is such a time in history. Let me ask you this: you
absolutely. Somebody told me somebody tweeted me when I tweeted about it that it took the worst Raw of the year and turned it into the best Raw of the decade. Was that one moment? And whether or not people agree with that is one thing, but I do agree that it was such an iconic moment. And to have been the figurehead and to have been in that, I think the vast majority of professional wrestlers will never have as iconic a moment as that, as we had as a bunch of young guys coming in. So there's definitely a lot of positives, a lot of a lot of things we can look back and say, okay, it didn't turn out how we wanted, but we'll always have this, stake placed in history that we did that and we were part of that.
Absolutely, I couldn't agree more. I mean, it's things like that seem to make those moments. It's those where things are just, it's for whatever reason, one thing just turns it around so quickly. So I get you there. Let me ask this: how much you enjoying working with Joe Galli? Because we know Joe. He's right down the road in San Antonio. Works in news at TV station down there, and very familiar with Joe. How much fun is it to work with Joe on NWA Powerrr?
I love working with Joe. So I came in at the end of or the beginning of season 2 when there was a change on the commentary desk, and I think a lot of people were worried that I would not fit into the shoes that I was trying to fill, so to speak. Obviously, Jim Cornette was there before me, and Jim is brilliant at commentary. He has a tremendous, unmatched perspective in terms of his knowledge of the professional wrestling world. But in terms of my confidence going into that role, I knew I wasn't trying to recreate what Jim was doing, because nobody can. I was going to be my own person. I was very confident about my own abilities. So from my perspective, the only question mark I had was the person I was going to be commentating with. And when I'd listened to all of the first season and heard how good Joe Galli was, I had no fear or no nerves whatsoever, despite the fact that many people thought I perhaps should. I knew that I wasn't going to mess it up, and I heard how good Joe was, and I knew he wasn't going to mess it up. So unless I met him that day and he was an ass, or I was an ass for him, I think we were going to click, and we did instantly, and I think we'll continue getting better. So I love working with him. He's very talented. Obviously, he's a professional broadcaster in his day job with the news and all that stuff, and he has a great ability. No matter where I'm taking him as the color commentator, he has a fantastic ability to navigate us back on track, which for me as the color guy gives me a lot of freedom and confidence knowing that I can go all around the houses with this. I can take this wherever I want because he's a solid enough anchor and smart enough to be able to navigate us back on track and back to where we need to go. So, yeah, I love working with him. He's a great guy and somebody I hope to be working with a lot longer in the future too.
Yeah, I hope so too. Yeah, you guys make a great team, and you sound great on NWA Powerrr. I've enjoyed every episode that you've been on. It is a different voice, and that's good. Let me ask you this: you look at the NWA, of course. Right now, things are kind of shut down, but when things get rolling back up, Nick Aldis is still the world champion. Has held that title for a long time after he took it from Tim Storm, who's a good friend of mine. Who do you see as a viable challenger coming up? Is there someone that you've got your eye on that could really present a challenge to Nick Aldis and take that 10 pounds gold away from him?
Well, up until the pandemic, we were very close to a match between Nick Aldis and Marty Scurll from Ring of Honor. And those two have known each other a long time, and that was where that was going. Whether that is reborn when we get back up and running again, I don't know. I'm not involved in the decision making. I don't know what contractually has been agreed between those parties, but I will say there is an individual in NWA who I think has kind of been in the shadows a little for a long time, and I think in terms of his ability in the ring, his physique, his intensity, and his experience level at this point, I think one day he's going to be a big threat to Nick Aldis or whoever is the NWA World Champion, and that is Tom Latimer, another English guy. And I've known Tom for about 15 years. I think he's fantastic, and I don't think he's ever had that single spotlight really placed on him. The issue at the moment, of course, is he is part of Nick Aldis' faction. He is part of Strictly Business, and those two are very tight, and he plays the very good foot soldier for Nick at the moment. But as we know in the history of professional wrestling, alliances are often quite loose, and things could change in a heartbeat. So if I was Nick Aldis, I'd keep Tom Latimer on a very tight rein because he's a big threat.
Okay. Good to know. I enjoy Tom Latimer's work all the way back from his days in TNA to what he's doing now with the NWA. So you're absolutely right. Before I let you go, Stu, I got to ask: is there ever a chance that you may dust the boots off and climb back in the ring?
Completely. I've always said I'm not retired from in ring. I'm on a hiatus. I don't think I'll ever go back full time like I used to. Partly because my body wouldn't be able to put up with it now. I'm almost 40 years old, but when I left WWE, I had a huge clear out where most of the memorabilia and items I collected over the years, like there was the old pay-per-view chairs that had my face on it for one Survivor Series. I threw them all away, threw posters away, threw almost everything out, but the one thing I kept were my boots. So they're there, they're ready to go. I might need to get a couple of new pairs of trunks made, but I'm never too far away from perhaps returning if the circumstances are right, the situation is right, the conditions, the location, and all that stuff. It's the right deal at the right time, and I think I will be back in the ring somewhere at some place at some time.
Well, I'll be tuned in when that happens. So, but until then, he is Stu Bennett. Catch him on I Am Vengeance. Retaliation comes out this Friday on digital platforms and DVD here in the U.S. Follow him on Twitter at Stu Bennett. Stu, thank you so much for your time. It's great talking to you. I've enjoyed your work throughout the years. Looking forward to see what's coming. By the way, how's your family? How's everybody doing during this crazy time?
Yeah, everybody's great. I'm in a very small family unit here in Los Angeles where I live, and we've all been very careful, and fortunate enough we're in a position where we can pretty much lock down and stay safe and still maintain our bill paying and all that stuff. So we're very fortunate there. My parents at home are doing fine. They're up there in years, of course, so they're in the danger group, but they're being very careful. My brother he's helping them take care of things too. So he lives close to them, fortunately. So yeah, I've been very lucky that no one directly close to me has been affected, and I hope that stays the same way. And I hope eventually we all get through this together, and there's no secondary spike, and pretty soon they can come up with some sort of treatment or inoculation or whatever it is. And yeah, we're I hope seeing some light at the end of the tunnel, but let's not get too crazy and get out there and start doing anything too wild. Yeah.
Well, again, I'm glad to hear that. All the best to you. All the best to your family and everything that's going on with you. Looking forward to seeing great success with this movie, and hopefully soon we'll see you back on NWA. But until then, all the best to you. Stay safe, and we'll talk again soon.
Stu, thanks so much for having me on. It's been a pleasure chatting with you, and good luck with everything, and hopefully we'll speak again soon.
Great to hear from Stu Bennett. Again, you can follow him on Twitter at Stu Bennett. And don't forget, I Am Vengeance, Retaliation, be available this Friday on digital platforms. That's Prime Video and all the different ones, as well as DVD in the U.S. It's coming out a little later in the U.K. But, yeah, great time catching up with Stu Bennett. Such a phenomenal actor and a great wrestler at that. Yeah, I would love to see him get back in the ring real soon. I'm going to take this quick time out. When we come back, though, I've got another guest coming up. Taya Valkyrie from Impact Wrestling, one of the faces of the Knockouts division, will join me after this break. Coming up, Sports Guys Talking Wrestling on the Horn.
This is Velvet Sky.
And Angelina Love.
And we are the Beautiful People. And you're listening to Sports Guys Talking Wrestling.
Woo!
Sports Guys Talking Wrestling on the Horn. Stu Myrick flying solo tonight. Every Tuesday night on Access TV, Impact Wrestling, showing some of the best wrestling action out there. And their Knockouts division has long been considered among the best women's division in all of pro wrestling. When you go all the way back to the days of the Beautiful People, to the current roster, and one of those great athletes joins us now on the Vaqueros Cafe and Cantina Hotline. She is Taya Valkyrie. And Taya, how are you? How are things in your world?
Everything here in Slamtown is amazing. It's a sunny day, No, everything's been great.
That's good.
And thanks for having me on your show.
I appreciate you taking some time to visit with me. How's the family doing? How, in this crazy time and everything, how's your family doing? Everybody doing okay? We're slowly getting back to normal, but it's been a crazy couple months.
Yeah, it's been crazy, and it's been a little bit hard too, because obviously, as everyone knows, my family is in Canada, so they haven't been able to come visit or anything like that. But hopefully, things start getting back to normal, and everybody's here has been safe and sound, and lots of Zoom meetings and virtual happy hours and movie clubs through the computer. But everyone's been doing all right.
I know a few of the Zoom happy hours. Shared a few with some friends of mine over the weekend, and it was nice, sitting here in Austin, Texas. As I mentioned, Knockouts division in Impact is so stacked, and it always is. You're, of course, former Knockouts champion, but you look at the roster from the current champion, Jordan Grace, and you've got people coming. You've, of course, got Havoc. Your frenemy, I don't know what to call her, but Rosemary, and now with the addition of Deonna Purrazzo. Just reflect on the current state of the Knockouts division and how proud you are of being, one of the main faces of such a talented group of women.
Well, I'm honored to be called a knockout. I remember watching TNA back in the day and seeing the evolution of how those knockouts impacted the wrestling world in general and women's wrestling, and how far we've come into now, and especially as of lately, there's been so many great additions to our knockout roster that there's just so many matches that I'm just waiting to have and some that have never happened before ever. You know, we have newly added Kylie Ray, and we have Tasha Steele, and we have Deanna, and we have Nevaeh and Kimberly. I mean, it's just awesome. And I think that this is a really, really great time. It's an uncertain time, obviously, in the state of the world and everything, but it's a really good time to kind of get an escape and watch us every Tuesday on Access.
Absolutely. It's such a myriad, just a rainbow of different backgrounds and everything. It's really neat to watch.
Exactly.
I just love it.
A rainbow. That's what I've been saying. I'm like, we're just so different. You know, nobody wants, when you're a little kid, you don't want a box of crayons that's all red.
That's
right.
You
want a box of crayons with multiple colors and everything, you know, and that's what we are. We're colorful, and we're all from different backgrounds, all from different teachers, parts of the world, and have different histories within this sport. So I'm very honored to be part of it.
I imagine you are. Talking with Taya Valkyrie from Impact Wrestling here on Sports Guys Talking Wrestling. Okay, so speaking of the myriad and the rainbow and everything, I've been watching for weeks now, and it always amazes me, but I just got to ask you, so what's the deal with you and Rosemary? How did this little friendship come about? Because if there were two more opposite people in this world, I think it would be you and Rosemary.
Well, honestly, it's been going on for years. As you guys have seen, we love each other, we hate each other. We're friends. I asked her for a favor, she rejects me. She doesn't answer my phone calls. I don't answer her phone calls. It's just been like back and forth, and I feel like finally we're coming to an agreement. And I feel like we both needed it. We both need each other right now, and it's been so fun to work with someone as talented as she is. And I think that she really brings out even more creativity out of me, and I'm stoked and excited for everybody to see what's going to be happening in the coming weeks and months, because the Shadow and La Loca are up to some interesting stuff.
That's a good way to put it. I like that. Yes. Have you met the Shadow yet? Has she introduced you to the Shadow yet?
I mean, there's so many layers to Rosemary that I'm not sure sometimes who I'm speaking to. Let's be completely honest. I mean, I'm like, are you a hiveling? Are you like 10 of them? Like, who's speaking right now? So it's very complicated, and I know that like Ty is just new to dealing with her as directly as I have been. But I'm learning along with you guys.
Yes, Rosemary has many faces. I think, and it's just it's pretty fascinating.
And right now she's discovered alcohol, so she's just like in the bars all the time.
I know.
And, like, just like studying humans in a different way. So like she's just like all over the place. But I have been enjoying every minute of watching her also learn from us, the humans of the world. So she'll also learn a little bit from the demon, and she can learn a little bit from me.
I tell you what, I wouldn't mind being Johnny Bravo for one day just to see both sides. I mean, how much does he help with this connection? I guess is the best way to put it.
Well, obviously, Bravo's a huge thorn in my side. I feel like all the things that have been negative that have happened to me over the last few months are all because of him. And lately, he's not like anywhere to be seen. He's wandering off, doing God knows what. So, I mean, I don't think you want to be in his position ever, because nobody should ever want to be Bravo.
You're right. You're absolutely right. Yeah, I for what he has had
to
go
go
through.
Friends. You don't want to be Bravo.
That's right. Absolutely. I want to stay friends with you. You're absolutely right. Talk with Taya Valkyrie. All right. So you mentioned La Loca, and you have this new clothing line called LOCA. Is this something that you've always wanted to do? Is it something that maybe as growing up you were wanted to be a designer and you had sketches? Just tell us about the development of you as a clothing designer.
Well, I think it's very obvious watching me on TV that I take great pride in my costumes and the way that Taya is represented in what she's wearing backstage, or if it's an in-ring promo, and every aspect of it, you know. And I'm a very colorful person. I always have been. I've always loved clothes. I mean, I was a dancer and doing musical theater growing up, and I just remember like some of my favorite things were getting the costumes and then performing, you know. And I've always just been interested in clothing, and I feel like it's just another way to express myself. And I feel like sometimes people are intimidated by it or however they view fashion. But what I wanted to do, I didn't think that it would happen this quickly, obviously, just based on the fact that I went from working so much to not, because of obviously the pandemic and the state of the world and just being at home. And I really needed a creative outlet for myself. I was going a little nuts, like sitting at home. And also I was just sad. I missed creating and performing, and I missed being an artist. So I have been in fashion school now for since January, and I've been doing that on the side as well during the whole time that I've been working. And this just kind of came around a lot quicker just because of the circumstances, like I said. And this stuff is just a part of me. I'm very passionate about it. I think it shows in like the products that I've made so far. And it's a lifestyle streetwear brand that's really for anybody. I think that I just want people to feel joyous and happy when they wear my clothes and confident. It is, a lot of products are unisex, so anybody can wear them. And everything at TayaValkyrie.com. That's where everything will go live, along with restocking some of the stuff that I had on the last drop. So this is the second drop. I'm learning as I go. I am a person that's just taking it day by day, and I'm very proud of how fast and how happy people are with everything. And I'm just stoked and excited for everyone to wear my clothes.
I'm looking at the pictures right now. Some really cool streetwear, and it looks very comfortable. And you hand dye these, correct?
Yes. So everything. I mean, obviously, everybody knows. It was hard to. Everything was closed for the last few months, and it was really hard at first for me to even think how I was going to pull this off. And I'm lucky that I was able to get someone to ship me certain items, and then I had a printer in Los Angeles that helps me out with doing all the printing, and a lady does all my masks here in LA as well. And I hand dye everything myself, and a lot of trial and error, a lot of research, a lot of trying to figure out what works, what doesn't work. And basically what you're seeing is me and endless hours of working hard at my house and making all this stuff for everybody. And I love it. Nobody in our house is allowed to wear anything other than this now.
There you go.
But I've just been so excited that so many people are really enjoying it, and I'm so thankful that my friends and my fans and everybody at Impact 2 has just been super supportive, and obviously my husband, who goes along with my crazy idea and supports me in it. And it's a small company right now, and I hope to grow into something that's huge and super successful. So here we are. I'm excited.
Some really cool stuff. I love this T-shirt that you've got. It's kind of a black T-shirt with a dye and everything. That's really neat. I'm digging the T-shirt. So, and yeah, you can find all this at www.tayavalkyrie.com. Look at you also got a Facebook page, LOCA by Taya Valkyrie. Really neat, and that's really impressive. Let me ask you this: how'd you find what made you go to the Academy in San Francisco? Because I know there's a lot of different design schools and such. So what stood out about that particular one?
Yeah, well, I live in LA, so there's fashion schools and all sorts of design stuff everywhere, and it's just an artistic place to live. And I just started researching different fashion programs, and then this one really spoke to me, and I decided to go with it. And I've had such a positive experience with it so far, and it was really scary going back to school. I just like anything, it's been a while, and I'm just really happy to grow and learn from everybody there, and the teachers and the students have been great. And summer semester starts pretty quick, so better get organized.
There you go. Got to buckle down again. She is Taya Valkyrie. Follow her on Twitter at the Taya Valkyrie, and you can see the clothing line on Twitter at LOCA LOCA by Taya V. Taya, it's great to catch up with you. I mentioned before we started, I remember you and your husband coming down for Wrestle Circus here in Austin. Always enjoyed the encounters we had then, and so it's great to catch up with you. All the best to you. Before I let you go, like you said, you had a hell of a match there with Jordan Grace. I got to imagine you're going to get another shot at that Knockouts title again.
I mean, it would be rude if I didn't. Come on.
Exactly. It would be rude. I agree. Taya Valkyrie.
Give me my chance.
That's right. Give Taya a chance. There's no new hashtag. Give Taya a chance. Taya Valkyrie, thank you.
Thank you for taking the time to speak to me.
My pleasure. Thank you, Taya. All the best to you. And again, follow her on Twitter at the Taya Valkyrie. She's also on Instagram and all social media, as well as her clothing line, LOCA by Taya Valkyrie, LOCA. You can find the clothing line on Twitter at LOCA by Taya V. You can also find it on Instagram at LOCA by Taya Valkyrie, and Facebook. Search LOCA by Taya Valkyrie. And she has a website, TayaValkyrie.com. You can get the streetwear and the loungewear, some really cool stuff. And what a great conversation. A lot of fun talking to Taya Valkyrie, one of the faces of the women's division, the Knockouts division there in Impact Wrestling. Make sure you catch them. They're really doing some fun stuff there, so make sure you catch them every Tuesday night on Access TV. Got a few more things to cover, including what happened at WWE Backlash and the fallout from that. That's coming up next. Sports Guys Talking Wrestling on the Horn.
Hey, this is the hardcore legend Mick Foley, and you're listening to Sports Guys Talking Wrestling.
Sports Guys Talking Wrestling on the Horn. Stu Meyer flying solo tonight as we take a look real quick at WWE Backlash from this past Sunday. No championships changed hands. Couple of weird things that happened. First, one weird thing. The greatest wrestling match ever as it was billed, Edge and Randy Orton. I don't know if it was the greatest wrestling match, but it was a damn good match. They did a fantastic job. The touches with Charles Robinson in the full, bow tie, the old school referee uniform, and using the Madison Square Garden microphone that Howard Finkel used, and using his voice, that was really, really cool. So, like I said, it was a good match. It ended up, the funny thing is, one of the criticisms of their WrestleMania match, the Last Man Standing match, was that it was too long. Well, apparently this match, as timed by our friends at Figure 4 Weekly and Wrestling Observer, it was 8 minutes longer than the WrestleMania match. But the pacing and everything went much better. So kudos to Edge and Randy Orton. Unfortunately, looks like we're going to lose Edge for a while with the torn pec, I believe, that he just had surgery on. So he's going to be on the shelf for at least 6 to 8 months. We'll see if he even comes back. Because, again, remember, this was him coming back from retirement, when he was doing the WrestleMania match, and then this one. He had been in retirement for 9 years. So does he come back after this injury's healed? We'll see. So, but as we said, no other championships changed hands. The one odd ending was the Jeff Hardy versus Sheamus. They framed this as Jeff Hardy's, another step to his redemption from battling his demons and everything. And, that's what the story they had told. And they did that whole angle on SmackDown a couple weeks ago with the car crash and Elias getting hurt. And they arrest Jeff Hardy, but then they let him go. And then you get to the match and you expect Jeff Hardy to win, to complete the redemption story. But no, it was Sheamus. So what are we supposed to take from that? Are we supposed to take that Jeff Hardy still has work to do? Or Jeff Hardy, I guess, it's the old saying, the good guys don't always win. But I don't know. It was like, why do you put Sheamus over on this? Sheamus could take the loss. So anyway, that was just a weird result. And I don't know what they do with that. Does Sheamus now go for the Universal title with Braun Strowman? I don't know. And what do you do with Jeff Hardy now? I don't understand that booking. I thought it was weird, and I haven't found a good reason why you put Sheamus over on that story-wise. So we'll see. We'll see. As I said, no other titles changed hands. They were supposed to do the Raw Tag Team title match with Viking Raiders and the Street Profits. It turned into the Viking Profits taking on Akira Tozawa and a bunch of ninjas, including one really tall one, and a creature in a trash dumpster. So, I mean, it made me laugh. So I didn't mind it. It's one of those things. Again, life can't be serious all the time. You got to have some fun. And I thought it was fun, even if it was silly fun. So kudos to the Viking Raiders and the Street Profits on that. Real quick, New Japan Cup going on right now. We've had 2 nights of 2 nights of competition so far, and winners so far: Makabe Ishii, Toru Yano, and Hiromu Takahashi, the current IWGP Junior Heavyweight Champion. They won last night, or on Monday. Yesterday, or I guess that would be this morning, Taiji Ishimori defeated Gabriel Kidd. Kanemaru went over on Uemura. Nagata defeating Minoru Suzuki. That was a little bit of a surprise. I really thought Suzuki would have advanced, but Nagata will move on to the second round. And Kazuchika Okada defeating his former manager, Gato. So they also had a special match. Hiroki Goto, Yoshihashi, and Shoin-Yo from Roppongi 3K defeating LIJ's Takagi, Evil, Sonata, and Bushi. So all in all, sounds like it was a great night. A lot of good matches. The tournament will resume on June 22nd. You'll see Hiroshi Tanahashi, the ace, taking on Taichi. The match I think a lot of people have bookmarked. Kota Ibushi taking on Zack Sabre Jr. You got Taguchi taking on Sonata, and Sho from Roppongi 3K taking on Shingo Takagi from LIJ. Then on the 23rd, you got Tenzan taking on Yoshihashi, Yo from Roppongi 3K taking on Bushi from LIJ, Kojima taking on Evil, and Hiroki Goto taking on Yujiro Takahashi. So that will resume. Of course, you can see all that on the NJPW World. I believe there's English commentary, which means our friend Kevin Kelly and his crew will be active that night. So all in all, it's just good to see New Japan back, at least in this format. So kudos to all of them, and best wishes for health and safety over in the land of the rising sun. Real quick, because we do have one live event that I know of, and I think Metroplex Wrestling is also running this weekend, but we got AAPW, America's Academy of Pro Wrestling, will be having live wrestling this Saturday at the AAPW Arena on Aldridge Drive here in Austin. You check that out. It'll be bell times at 8 p.m. I believe there's a women's championship match scheduled for that night, as well as some great matches. You'll see the stars of tomorrow. So make sure you check out AAPW at the AAPW Arena on Aldrich Drive here in Austin this Saturday. And, of course, you can find it on Facebook, Twitch, and YouTube. I plan to be there. I got a message from T-Ray saying that he's working on a new finishing move. So I want to check that out live, see how he pulls it off. So should be interesting, though. But, yeah, AAPW. If you feel like it, come on out. I'll be there. Come say hi to me. It's they do the social distancing. You can bring your own, I think canned beer if you want. They also have concessions, and it's just a fun night of wrestling. And it's just good to be back around a ring after so long without it. So make sure you check that out. AAPW this Saturday at the AAPW Arena, or you can see it online on YouTube, Facebook, or Twitch. By the way, did you hear during, if you watch Impact Wrestling on Tuesday night, did you hear during the Moose and Hernandez match, after the match was over and Moose gets declared the winner, instead of playing Moose's music, they played EC3's old music? It kind of feeds into the rumors about Slammiversary. Could see EC3 returning to Impact Wrestling, as well as anybody else. I mean, I don't know who we'll see in Impact Wrestling come Slammiversary in July. There's a lot of rumors going around. So I think I've heard Rhino talking about he could have a tag team partner. We may be seeing him and Heath Slater. We'll have to see. And that'll do it for Sports Guys Talking Wrestling this week. As I mentioned, Justin Smash Simmons will be back next week. You can follow him on Twitter, Instagram, and Twitch at The Smash Simmons. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Stu Myrick. That's STEWMYRICK. You can follow the show on Twitter at SGTWATX. You can find us on Facebook and Instagram at Sports Guys Talking Wrestling. We are proud to be the official broadcast partner of the Professional Wrestling Hall of Fame, and we're proud to be part of the great lineup you hear every day. On the flagship station for the Texas Longhorns, we are the Horn. Catch us Wednesday nights at 9 p.m. Central, or catch us anytime on demand by going to hornfm.com, click on the On-Air tab, or by subscribing to us on your favorite podcast platform. Huge thanks to Stu Bennett and Taya Valkyrie for joining me tonight, and huge thanks to you for giving me some of your time tonight. Until next time, we hope to see you at the matches.
Goodbye and good night.